so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life? Well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the reflection and extension of you who will be here each Wednesday interviewing a different consciousness changemaker. And on the other 4 weekdays, leading the way to ensure that your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and your heart is overflowing and full. Also, before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to take about a minute and a half to tell you about a few sponsors that not only help to make it possible to produce this show 5 days a week, but that I'm also genuinely passionate about promoting. The first longtime stellar supporter of the show that I want to mention is Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online with over 8,000 video titles. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. The second sponsor I'm sincerely passionate about promoting is Purium. It's no mystery that bringing your mind, body, and spirit into balance is necessary if a person truly intends to manifest the greatest and grandest version of themselves. So if you've been looking for a way to easily get organic superfoods into your system every day with a simple plan that can help you reestablish a healthier foundation and relationship with food, like I was doing before I found Purium, I highly recommend going to positivehead.com/transformation and checking out the videos and interviews there where I dive deeply into discussions explaining why I take these products every day. And should you ultimately end up on iShopPurium.com to purchase any of their 50 plus amazing superfood products, be sure to use the code POSITIVEHEAD, all one word, for a 25% discount. All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Here we grow again. So very appreciative to be back here with you all again. It is an honor. And today I am going to read again from Journey of Souls. I've really been enjoying these case studies of lifetimes or life between lives. And it's a book, let's see, it was probably written, I think, back in the 90s by a guy named Michael Newton, doctor, PhD, who started doing hypnotherapy, tapping into people's past lives, then sort of exploring what happened after they died in those past lives. Like they'd go through the death process, right? And then he'd say, okay, what's next? What happened? You died. Where'd you go? And started like documenting people's accounts of what happened after they passed, life between lives, right? And just fascinating because over a long period of time, he actually wrote a couple books, Journey of Souls and then Destiny of Souls. We're going to read from Journey of Souls, the first one today. But he documented, and being sort of a scientific, perspective, he started documenting, all the similarities and the different sort of ideas of how sometimes things were named a little different, or the person under, hypnosis would refer to it as a different name or place or, way of describing something. But he started figuring out how to tie it all together and kind of seeing definitely a lot of patterns in regards to sort of the hierarchy, if you will, on the other side, the way things are structured and the way things operate and the way we evolve and the way our lives extend beyond these particular avatars that we are in currently. And it's just fascinating, such a fascinating topic to me. And I definitely enjoy reading from time to time. And so if any of you who want to go back, I read case studies from a beginner soul in episode 821, and then an intermediate soul in episode 852 and 859. And then today I'm going to read about an advanced soul. So, people that after he puts them under, he realizes, okay, they've done, they're sort of further along. The advanced soul, of course, being further along in their evolutionary journey into 3D and physicality than maybe, the prior ones, the intermediate soul and the beginner soul. So really, really fascinating. Hope you guys are enjoying these ongoing readings. And before I jump in and start on this chapter 11 of the Advanced Soul, let's read a review first on iTunes, shall we? Yeah, I think we shall. You guys know I love my iTunes reviews. Not only do they help us to reach new people, but certainly help to continue my fire, to stoke my fire, to continue this labor of love. So I definitely appreciate it if you take the time to do that and give me some feedback. This one came in by Jamie Dearest. Jamie said, life-changing, so much love. The Positive Head podcast is amazing. My life shifted and has been greatly changed for the so much better for the past 2 years. Every woo-woo thing I have, crystals, tea, Purium, essential oils, books, and of course, all my thoughts, conversations, pep talks, amazing vibes, and insights are all thanks to this podcast. Virtually meeting Brandon, Dalian, Miss, Shaman Durek, Alexa, Ambi, and so many more have impacted me entirely. What a blessing and synchronicity, and thoroughly thought out soul contract. So much love for everyone and everything. It's such an honor, and I wouldn't trade this part of my life or my spiritual involvement for SH exclamation plus sign exclamation winky face. Hearts forever. Thank you. Oh, Jamie, thank you. That was such wonderful feedback, and I love all your woo-woo things there. I actually just booking something today from the author of the Crystal Bible. Speaking of crystals, that's not something we've really talked about. And, a lot of you probably own the Crystal Bible. And so Judy Hall is going to be coming on. Just was kind of scheduling that this morning. So really looking forward to that. And then you named Purium as woo-woo. Probably the least woo-woo thing in your list there. Seeing how it's plant, it's plant medicine, essentially. It's food. But food can be woo-woo too, I suppose. I'll go with that. I think everything's a little bit woo-woo. I think the fact that we're here is a little woo-woo. I changed my mind. Purium's woo-woo. It's all woo-woo. Oh, okay. So, you did also mention synchronicity. I'll share a fun one with you guys real quick that happened this morning. So my mother sent me a meme on Facebook this morning, and it's a picture of Moses holding the Ten Commandments, and it says, so technically Moses is the first man to download files from the cloud using a tablet. And I started, I laughed, of course, and started Messenger about it. Like, well, some people say that he took psychedelics, or perhaps the DMT when he's talking to the burning bush. And she's like, no, come on, And I'm like, yeah, okay, Mom. Like, no one ever used plant medicines prior. I know you haven't heard about it on TV, on the news, so I guess that never happened. And we are just like joking back and forth. They're, sort of having a playful semi-debate about that. And then all of a sudden I looked to the left, and what was so cool is the number one thing in my feed was from a guy named Joshua, who not sure if I met in 3D, or maybe even a fan of the show, a listener of the show, and that's how we got connected on Facebook. But it caught my eye all of a sudden, because I noticed on the left, the Messenger pops up on the right hand of my computer. I was talking on the computer on Messenger, and on the left is the news feed for Facebook. And the top one was by Josh at Mount Moses, Sinai, Egypt. And he wrote, and it's all these epic pictures of him, on top of the mountain, and it looks like with his partner in some of the pictures, really pretty, beautiful pictures, and he's kind of a meditative, contemplative state. And he said, the journey into light draws to a close at Mount Sinai. Coming here was a first for me. The energies and experiences of this holy land shifted me. I'll need time to fully process the messages from Spirit that came through here. I leave with a full, grateful heart, looking forward to all that awaits me back home. And so it's like, he's on Mount Sinai where supposedly, Mount Moses at Sinai, where these downloads happened. And he's referencing getting messages from Spirit that came through for him while he's there. Now, he looks pretty clear-eyed. So I don't think he's taken any plant medicines or psychedelics or anything like that. But, so it was just a great tie-in, I'm sitting here sort of talking about this on the right, and on the left is someone now in present time doing this. And I think that's just such a fascinating thing to consider. My father, who I've talked about before, is very conservative Christian. One of the things in his beliefs is, of course, he takes the New Testament literally. And one of the things, I think there's a verse that says something, the days of miracles have passed or something. So to him and, with his religion, the interpretation of that is you can't receive downloads or spirit contact, angelic entities or any of the magical stories in the Bible. Those days have passed. So anything that's happening to you that you think is spirit is like the devil or something, right? Or you're crazy, or both. And so it's just really fascinating to know that actually that's, so many amazing, clear-eyed, beautiful, brilliant, intelligent souls are having and receiving messages from Spirit. And it seems more and more, it's just sort of commonplace. It seems like it's becoming commonplace. Whereas in the past I would have years back had been whoa, you got messages from Spirit up there? Now it's oh, of course you did. Downloads the veil is definitely thinning. And, these synchronicities and things, of course, are great winks. I had a lot yesterday where conversations in the morning that then were so reflected later, and something I was watching. It's like 5 different things being referenced or reflected back. It's just pretty incredible time to be alive, isn't it? All right. So let's move right along. I'm going to read from the Advanced Soul account in the book Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. This is chapter 11 where it starts. And I'll just read as far as, seems appropriate and feels good for today. And I don't know if I'll get all the way through the Advanced Soul. It looks like it's a fairly long chapter. So I'll just read for a bit and see where we land. People who possess souls which are both old and highly advanced are scarce. Although I haven't had the opportunity to regress many blues in level 5. Real quick, I'll just reference, he talks about the different colors that as you advance, I said, from what he gathers from all his research, that on the other side, when you encounter other souls, they have a different color to them that sort of indicates their progress, their evolutionary process. Blue being up there in evolution, it seems. And okay, I'll start that over. Although I haven't had the opportunity to regress many blues in level 5, they are always stimulating to work with because of their comprehension and far-reaching spiritual consciousness. The fact is, a person whose maturity is this high doesn't seek out a regression therapist to resolve life plan conflicts. In most cases, level 5s are here as incarnated guides. Having mastered the fundamental issues most of us wrestle with daily, the advanced soul is more interested in making small refinements towards specific tasks. We may recognize them when they appear as public figures, such as a Mother Teresa. However, it is more usual for the advanced soul to go about their good works in a quiet, unassuming manner. Without displaying self-indulgence, their fulfillment comes from improving the lives of other people. They focus less on institutional matters and more on enhancing individual human values. Nevertheless, level 5s are also practical, and so they are likely to be found working in a cultural mainstream which allows them to influence people and events. I have been asked if most people who are sensitive, aesthetic, and particularly right-brained have advanced souls, since individuals with these characteristics often appear to be at odds with the wrongs of an imperfect world. I see no correlation here. Being emotional, appreciating beauty, or having extrasensory impressions, including psychic talent, does not necessarily denote an advanced soul. The mark of an advanced spirit is one who has patience with society and shows extraordinary coping skills. Most prominent is their exceptional insight. This is not to say life has no karmic pitfalls for them. Otherwise, a level 5 probably wouldn't be here at all. They may be found in all walks of life, but are frequently in the helping professions or combating social injustice in some fashion. The advanced soul radiates composure, kindness, and understanding towards others. Not being motivated by self-interest, they may disregard their own physical needs and live in reduced circumstances. The individual I have chosen to represent the level 5 soul is a woman in her mid-30s who works for a large medical treatment facility specializing in chemical substance abuse. I was introduced to this woman by a colleague who told me of her skill in guiding recovering drug addicts into an improved state of self-awareness. At our first meeting, I was struck by the woman's expression of serenity while surrounded by chaotic emergencies at her place of employment. She was tall and excessively thin, with flaming red hair which stuck out in all directions. Although warm and friendly, there was about her an air of impenetrability. Her clear, luminous gray eyes were those of one who sees small things unnoticed by ordinary folk. I felt she was looking into rather than at me. My colleague suggested the three of us have lunch because this woman was interested in my studies of the spirit world. She told me that she had never been hypnotically regressed, but there was a sense of a long spiritual genealogy through her own meditations. She thought our meeting was no accident on her own learning path, and we came to an agreement to explore her spiritual knowledge. A few weeks later, she arrived at my office. Clearly, this woman had no compelling desire for a long chronology of past life history. I decided to get a brief sketch of her earliest lives on Earth to use as a springboard into superconscious memories. She rapidly entered into a deep trance and made instant contact with her inner self. Almost at once, I found this woman's span of incarnation staggering, going far back into the distant past of human life on Earth. Touching on her earliest memories, I came to the conclusion her first lives occurred at the beginning of the last warm interglacial period, which lasted from 130,000 to 70,000 years ago, before the last great ice age spread over the planet. During the warmer climate of the Middle Paleolithic period of Earth's history, my subject described living in moist, subtropical savannas near hunting, fishing, and plant-gathering areas. Later, some 50,000 years ago, when continental sheets of ice had again changed Earth's climate, she spoke of living in caves and enduring bitter cold. Leaping rapidly over large blocks of time, I found her physical appearance changing from a slightly bent to a more erect posture. As we moved forward in time, I directed her to look into pools of water and feel her body while reporting back to me. Her sloping forehead became more vertical over thousands of years in different bodies. Supraorbital ridges above the eyes grew less pronounced, as did body hair and the massive jaws of archaic man. In our many lives as both men and women, I was given enough information on habitat, the use of fire, tools, clothes, food, and ritualistic tribal practices for rough anthropological dating. Paleontologists have estimated Homo erectus, an ape-like ancestor of modern humans, appeared at least 1.7 million years ago. Have souls been incarnating on Earth for this long, utilizing the bodies of these primitive bipeds we all call hominids? A few of my more advanced clients declare that highly advanced souls who specialize in seeking out suitable hosts for young souls evaluated life on Earth for over 1 million years. My impression is these examiner souls found the early hominid brain cavity and restricted voice box to be inadequate for soul development earlier than some 200,000 years ago. Archaic Homo sapiens, whom we call humans, evolved several 100,000 years ago. Within the last 100,000 years, we find 2 clear signs of spiritual consciousness and communication. These are burial practices and ritualistic art, as found in carved totems and rock drawings. There is no anthropological evidence that these practices existed on Earth before Neanderthal peoples. Souls eventually made us human, not the reverse. One of my advanced subjects remarked, souls have seeded the Earth in different cycles. A composite of information collected from a wide range of clients suggested to me that the land masses we know today deviate from earlier continents, drowned, perhaps, by cataclysmic volcanic or magnetic upheavals. For instance, the Azores in the Atlantic Ocean have been said to represent the tops of mountains of the submerged continent of Atlantis. Indeed, I've had subjects discuss being in ancient lands on Earth that I cannot identify with modern geography. Thus, it is possible souls existed in bodies more advanced than Homo erectus, who died out about 250,000 years ago, with the fossilized evidence hidden from us today by geological change. However, this hypothesis means the physical evolution of humans was an up, down, up affair, which I think is unlikely. I now move my subject into an African life around 9,000 years ago, which she said was an important milestone in her advancement. This was the last life she was to spend with her guide, Kumara. Kumara was an advanced soul herself at the time of this life, counseling a benevolent tribal chief as his influential wife. I tentatively located their land as the highlands of Ethiopia. Apparently, my subject had known Kumara in a number of earlier lives, covering thousands of years during Kumara's final incarnations on Earth. Their association in human form ended when my subject died, saving Kumara's life on a riverboat by throwing herself in front of an enemy spear. Full of love, Kumara still appears to this subject as a large woman with skin of polished mahogany and a shock of white hair crowned by a headdress of feathers. She is practically nude except for a strip of animal hide around her ample middle. On Kumara's neck hangs a garish bunch of multicolored stones, which she sometimes jiggles in my subject's ear to get her attention during dreams in the middle of the night. Kumara teaches by a technique of flashing symbolistic memories of prior lessons already learned in past lives. Old solutions to problems are mixed with new hypothetical choices in the form of metaphoric picture puzzles. By these means, Kumara tests her students' considerable storehouse of knowledge during meditations and dreams. I glanced at my watch. There was no more time for background information if I was going to allow for exploration of this woman's afterlife experiences. Rapidly, I took her into superconsciousness, anticipating some interesting spiritual disclosures. She would not disappoint me. Okay, here we go. This is case 23. Doctor and subject are going back and forth, and I'll just sort of alter my voice to do my best to indicate when whichever one is talking. I'll start with the doctor asking a question, which is any question is normally the doctor, right? What is your spiritual name? Thais. And your spiritual guide kept her African name of Kumara? For me, yes. What do you look like in the spirit world? A glowing fragment of light. What exactly is the color of your energy? Sky blue. Does your light have flecks of another color in it? Some gold, not much. How about Kumara's energy color? It's violet. How does light and color identify the quality of a soul's spiritual attainment? The intensity of mental power increases with the darker phases of light. Where does the highest intensity of intelligent light energy originate from? The knowledge by which the energy of darker light is extended to us comes from the source. Our light is attached to the source. When you say source, you mean God? That word has been misused. How? By too much personalizing, which makes the source less than it is. What's wrong with us doing that? It takes the liberty of making the source too human, although we are all part of its oneness. Thais, I want you to reflect on the source as we talk about other aspects of soul life and the spirit world. Later, I will ask you more about this oneness. Now, let's go back to the energy manifestations of souls. Why do spirits display two black glowing cavities for eyes when not showing their human forms? It seems so spooky to me. That's how Earth's legends of ghosts came about, from these memories. Our energy mass is not uniform. The eyes you speak of represent a more concentrated intensity of thought. Well, if the myths about ghosts are not so fanciful after all, then these black eye sockets must be useful extensions of their energy. Rather than eyes, they are windows to old bodies, and all the physical extensions of former selves. This blackness is a concentration of our presence. We communicate by absorbing the energy presence of each other. When you return to the spirit world, do you have energy contact with other souls who may look like ghosts? Yes, an appearance is a matter of individual preference. Of course, there's always a multitude of thought waves around me, mingling with my returning energy, but I avoid too much contact. Why? It is not necessary for me to make attachments here. I will be alone for a while to contemplate and sort out any mistakes from my last incarnation before talking to Kumara. Note, this statement is typical of advanced souls returning to the spirit world, mentioned earlier in Case 9. However, this soul is so advanced she will have no deliberations with her guide until much later and upon request. Now, I'll add to that as well for those of you who haven't heard the older ones. The older readings. With younger souls, there's usually a lot of people waiting for them, their guides, this sort of thing, whereas the more advanced souls are like, I guess, advanced, and they're like, I don't even need any of that fanfare. I can go and get right to what it is I need to take care of. And in this case, she doesn't even need to, care to see her guide initially upon returning to non-physical. Okay, continuing. Perhaps we should talk about older souls for a minute. Does Kumara incarnate on Earth anymore? No, she doesn't. Do you know others like Kumara who were here during the early times on Earth and don't come back anymore? A few, yes. Many got on Earth early and got off before I came. Did any stay? What do you mean? Advanced souls who keep coming back to life on Earth when they could stay in the spirit world? Oh, you mean the sages? Yes, the sages. Tell me about them. He then says, this is a new term for me, but I often pretend to know more than I do with advanced souls to elicit information. The sages, they are the true watchers of Earth, to be here and keep watch over what is going on. As highly advanced souls who continue to incarnate? Yes. Don't the sages get tired of still hanging around Earth? They choose to stay and help people directly because they are dedicated to Earth. Where are these sages? They live simple lives. I first came to know some of them thousands of years ago. Today it's hard to see them. They don't like cities much. Are there many of them? No, they live in small communities or out in the open, in the deserts and mountains, in simple dwellings. They wander about too. How does one recognize them? Most people don't. They were known as the oracles of truth in earlier times on Earth. I know this sounds pragmatic, but wouldn't these old, highly developed souls be more useful helping humankind in positions of international leadership rather than being hermits? Who said they were hermits? They prefer to be with the common people who are most affected by the movers and shakers. What is the feeling one gets when meeting a sage on Earth? You feel a special presence. Their power of understanding and the advice they give you is so wise. They do live simply. Material things mean nothing to them. Are you interested in this sort of service, Thies? No. They are saints. I welcome the time when I can stop incarnating. Perhaps the word sage could also be applied to souls like Kumara, or even with the entities to whom she turns for knowledge? No, they are different. They are beyond the sages. We call them the old ones. Note, I would place these beings beyond level 6. Are there many old ones working with the souls at Kumara's level and above? I don't think so, compared to the rest of us, but we feel their influence. What do you feel in their presence? A concentrated power of enlightenment and guidance. Could the old ones be embodiments of the source itself? It is not for me to say, but I don't think so yet. They must be close to the source. The old ones represent the purest elements of thought, engaging in the planning and arranging of substances. Could you clarify a bit more what you mean by these highly placed souls being close to the source? Only that they must be close to conjunction. Does Kumara ever talk about these entities who help her? To me, only a little. She aspires to be one of them. As we all do. Is she getting closer to the old ones in knowledge? She approaches as I approach her. It is a slow assimilating with the source, because we are not complete. Once the duties of a guide are fully established for the advancing soul, it is necessary for these entities to juggle two balls. Besides completing their own unfinished business with continued, though less frequent, incarnation, they must also help others while in a discarnated state. Thies talks to me about this aspect of her soul life. You know what? That looks like a pretty good place to stop. This one's pretty lengthy, so it doesn't look like there's another good place to stop for a bit. So, leaving you with the cliffhanger. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I certainly have, and I also have. Speaking of the ancestors, I've got ancestral elephants. Ancestral elephants, and this song is Infinitum. Seems appropriately named. Hope you're enjoying your journey in infinity today, in eternity. I know I am. Till next time, journey well. Also, before we cue up today's song, I wanted to let you all know that we have finally created the Game with the Universe on our website, where you can choose the first number that comes to your mind, and it'll pull up that episode number of the podcast. I've been saying this is a great way to co-create synchronicity and magic with your higher self for quite some time by doing this manually. But now if you go to positivehead.com/YO universe, there is a super fun and simple interface to play this game with your higher self. I firmly believe just by setting the intention to play in this way, it opens up the door for magic, and it's a synchronistic way to hone in on nuggets of wisdom out of the huge catalog of episodes that are specifically appropriate for you at this time in your journey to becoming the next greatest and grandest version of yourself. And it also makes for a super fun way to engage and invite friends, family, people on social media to check out the podcast as well. So be sure to check out positivehead.com/YOUNIVERSE and be sure to tell all your friends so they can play a game with the universe, which also helps the show to reach new people, which I greatly appreciate. And as a quick reminder, be sure to also check out positivehead.com/transformation if you're curious to learn more about Purium superfoods and why I take them every day. On this journey of becoming the next greatest and grandest version of ourselves that we have all embarked upon, I can't stress the importance of managing your physical vibration enough. And quite honestly, Purium has put together the simplest plan I've found to do so, and I'm sincerely excited to share it with all of you. Lastly, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear me constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out.